Hi, my name's Kim J and I'm a visually impaired chef, and I'm also a volunteer for RNIB. And together with RNIB we do cookery classes in the Northwest, which at the moment we're not doing because of the pandemic. So today I'm going to show you how to make a chocolate espresso cheesecake. It is an amazing cheesecake. You don't have to bake it in the oven and it's very easy to do. Now the ingredients are 360 grams of cream cheese, soft cream cheese. You'll need approximately 500 millilitres of double cream. Now that's a large tub of double cream. This is for the adults by the way, not for the kids, and it is optional, about a tablespoon of rum. I've also got 100 grams of digestive biscuits, which we're going to chop up very finely. 150 grams of ginger nuts. Again, we're going to sort of chop those up finely. Now, if you don't like the ginger nuts, just turn it into digestives. I've got 135 grams of butter, 230 grams of dark chocolate, 2 teaspoons of coffee, and 10 grams of butter. And now those are the ingredients for this amazing cheesecake. To start off with, we're going to make the biscuit base. Now once you've made the biscuit base, you've got to put it into the fridge for at least half an hour to an hour to set. I'm going to take the 2 biscuits. Now I've got a food processor and I'm going to blitz the biscuit down. Now for those of you that don't have a food processor, the other method is put the biscuits into a sturdy plastic bag, carrier bag, a freezer bag, and bash it. Take out all your frustrations on those biscuits and keep on bashing it until it becomes fine and breadcrumb-like in texture. Now I'm going to put the biscuits into my food processor, both sets of biscuits, and I'm going to blitz it down. Right, it's all blitzed down until it's nice and crumbly and there's no big lumps in it. Now the next step is the 135 grams of butter, unsalted butter, that you've got. We're going to melt this down. Now I melt it down in the microwave. If you want, you can melt it down in a pan on the hob.
Door closed. High power microwave.
Now
1 minute.
I've put it on for 1 minute, but keep an eye on it. If you listen to the butter melting, you'll have a rough idea when it's melted quite a bit because you can hear the bubbling.
Start. High power microwave. 1 minute.
Now, as you can all hear, my microwave is talking to me. I love this microwave. And I know those of you that are visually impaired, one of the problems with a lot of equipment and appliances is it's digital and you need sight for it, and when you've not got sight it's really difficult. So luckily for me, I've got this microwave which I got from the RNIB shop. I've melted the butter and in a large mixing bowl I'm going to put the butter. Just pour it in, and into that I'm going to put those biscuit crumbs that we've got. And you just mix the butter and the biscuit crumbs until it is thoroughly mixed. I've mixed the biscuit and the butter together until it is very well coated. Now I have here an 18 centimetre cake tin. Now it's one of these spring foam cake tins where you can take the sides off, and I have buttered the base and the side, lightly buttered it, and I've put a baking parchment on the base. Now the baking parchment is bigger than the ring by approximately 2.5 centimetres, and on top of that I am going to put the sides and lock it into place. Now the reason that the baking parchment is bigger than the actual tin itself is that when you come to taking it all out and the cheesecake has set, it is easier to take the baking parchment off, especially when you're visually impaired. Now into this ring I am going to put that biscuit mixture that we've just done with the butter. And you need to pat it down and make sure it goes all the way to the sides of the tin. And I've done that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some cling film on top, put it in the fridge for about half an hour to an hour before we come to the next step. I'm now going to start the topping for the cheesecake. Into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to pour that 500 mils of double cream. Now what you need to do is to whisk it up until it's thick. You can do this by a hand with a hand whisk, or like me you can do it with one of these handheld electric whisks or a food mixer. Now just whisk it up, and the consistency needs to be thick, and it's almost as if it's starting to form peaks, but just very little peaks, not very hard ones. I've been whisking this double cream for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it has become thick. Not too thick, but thick enough to just almost like clotted cream. Now into that I'm going to put the cream cheese. Now with the cream cheese in the mixing bowl with the double cream, I've just given it a quick mix, bit of a whisk until they're both blended together and the consistency is thick. It is really quite thick and creamy. Now I'm going to make the chocolate and melt the chocolate. Now you can do this in the microwave. Melt the butter in the microwave. Once it's melted, put the chocolate in and put it into the microwave and heat it up for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, stir it. If it hasn't melted completely, put it back in the microwave for another 20 seconds, pull it out, stir it, and you keep doing that until the chocolate is nice and liquid. Now I like to melt the chocolate on the hob, and this is called a bain-marie. So what I've got on the hob is a saucepan with boiling water. It's come to the boil and now I've turned it down to simmer. On top of that I am going to put a mixing bowl. Now this mixing bowl is heat resistant, so make sure you put a heat resistant bowl on there. Now into that I am going to put the butter, and I'm going to put the heat up slightly, and then I'm going to put the chocolate in. And now all you do now is you start stirring, and you keep stirring until that chocolate and butter has melted until a nice liquid. Now this chocolate has melted and it's rich and it's liquid and it's velvety. Now I always use chocolate that's at least 80% cocoa. It makes a much better dish. It's richer, more luxurious, and it has a lot more punch to flavour. Now once that chocolate has melted, just stir it for a couple of minutes, again on a very low heat. Any higher and it will start to burn the chocolate and it will clog together, which is not what you want. You want it that wonderful liquid. Now I've stirred it. What I've done is with that coffee I've mixed about 1.5 teaspoons of hot water, and I'm going to put that coffee into the chocolate. Now you use instant coffee. A good sort of instant coffee is great for this. And now you can smell the coffee with the chocolate. Gosh, I feel hungry now. And into that, again, optional, I'm going to put the rum. A little bit of adult flavour to this, but it goes really well with the chocolate. Chocolate and rum, oh wow. As soon as I put the rum and the coffee in, I'm giving it a little bit of stir, taking it off the heat, and I'm just leaving it for about 10-20 seconds for the chocolate to cool down, because you don't want to be putting hot chocolate into cream. It'll curdle and split the cream, which is not what you want. Now, it may start to get thicker at this stage, that doesn't really matter. And I'm going to put all that lovely chocolate into the mixture of double cream and cheese. I'm now going to mix that chocolate with the cream, cheese and double cream mixture until it is very nicely blended. And you'll find that the consistency of this mixture will loosen up a little. Now if you want, you can use a whisk at this stage just to make sure it's all blended. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it. Now we all like different levels of sweetness. Me, I love my cakes and I love my desserts, but I don't like it too sweet. But others do. So if this mixture is not sweet enough for you, add a couple of tablespoons of icing sugar to it. I've pulled out that biscuit base from the fridge and you can hear it's hardened up. Now into that I am going to put this cheesecake mixture. I'm now going to put it in the fridge overnight to allow it to set. Now usually it may set within sort of 6 hours, but me, I like to be on the safe side and err on caution, and I just put it in overnight, and that way it makes sure that everything is set. It's the next day, 24 hours later, and I pull the cheesecake out of the fridge. Now when it comes out, the cheesecake is slightly welded to the sides of the tin, so with a sharp knife, running it on the inside of the ring, just run it around the cheesecake, loosening it. And once you've done that, very gently open the spring of the cake tin and lift the ring out to reveal a beautiful cheesecake. Now taking the edges of the greaseproof paper, lift it from the bottom of the tin and very gently peel the baking parchment away and place it on a plate. Now I'm going to decorate it. You can decorate the top of this cheesecake with anything, but because it's chocolate, I always think that with dark chocolate, white chocolate stands out quite a bit. So I've got some white chocolate sprinkles and I'm just going to sprinkle them on the top, just to lift the cheesecake a little. And you'll find that the sweetness of the white chocolate goes very well with that lovely dark chocolate. Now I've also got here a bar of dark chocolate and one of those vegetable peelers. Now taking the bar of the bar of chocolate and the vegetable peeler, I'm just going to run it along the side of the chocolate bar just to shave some of the chocolate off. And I will use that dark chocolate as well to decorate the cheesecake. Now for those of you that can tell, you'll see that this cheesecake isn't sort of like a centimetre thick, the actual cheese base. It has a nice thickness to it. There is nothing worse than having something there's only a little bit of it. Sprinkle the dark chocolate on top of the cheesecake. And again, that little sprinkle just lifts the cheesecake. And there you have it. Chocolate espresso cheesecake. The perfect combination of chocolate with the bitter coffee working really well together. Now you have a recipe for a great dish. But when you're in the kitchen, there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it. And if you have a burn, run it under cold water. And if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. Whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because you know, raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can. As soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge and read the advice on storage on the labels.